Hey everyone, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates podcast. I'm JP. I'm joined with Jake and BP over here. Today we're going to touch on some contract stuff with some current and former Devils, as well as the 3-on-3 tournament. Let's just jump right in with the Boqvist signing in Boston.
Yeah, I mean it's a weird one. We talked about it, I think, an episode or two ago about if he was coming back, that it was kind of weird that he wasn't in the McLeod, Bastion editions. But we talked about his price and where he fits on the team and stuff like that. And seeing his contract come out as a 775, that was the weirdest way to say that, $775,000 a year, 1 year deal seems really strange to me. So I have my own thoughts on it. I kind of want to hear what you guys think first, because that number kind of like speaks to me a little bit.
For me, I think it's the number, the one-way contract, the term is all very telling in just that Boqvist is betting on himself to show that he can produce in a, at worst, mid-six, if at best, top-six type role, as Boston's forward group, with the assumption that Bergeron and Krejci are not returning, is fairly depleted. I mean, their 1C would be Zacha. Boqvist probably could find himself into a 2C role, potentially on that roster. And I think really it wasn't a money thing with us. I think it was a role. He just did not have a spot in the top 9, even top 12 here, you could argue. I could see legitimate arguments that management thinks more highly of Foot even than they would of Boqvist as far as a ceiling, or at least filling in a bottom line role for the physicality, just the size of Foot compared to Boqvist. Now, I personally think his fore and back checking acumen could have made up for some of that size difference between the two. But I do think Foot seems to have a better scoring touch. But Boqvist has 2 seasons in a row of 10 goals, even if he did it in like 20 less games the year before. So that's just kind of my initial thoughts. To me, it's more of a role. Boqvist probably was told he would not have anything more than a, at best, bottom 6, if not fourth line role here, more than likely healthy scratch guy for most of the year. And for him, that was just a no-go, and the team was like, yeah, we agree, you probably deserve better. And he felt like, well, he might have gotten more money in other places. His opportunity to show himself in a higher role was best in Boston.
Yeah, I think he thinks that he's a middle 6 to top 6 producer. I think honestly, I don't really necessarily disagree with him. I think he has a pretty high-end skill set. Obviously, he's an elite skater. He has pretty good hands. He's a pretty good playmaker. Decent shot. But I think, Jake, yeah, you're right in saying that he wouldn't really fit here in a fourth-line role, and that's more suitable for the Nolan Foots, the Graham Clarks. So, yeah, I like what he did for himself in going to Boston, where he obviously has the opportunity to play probably a third-line center role. I mean, outside of that, I don't really... You guys kind of touched on everything that I wanted to get to. I don't know.
I want to hear the deeper dive from BP.
I'll jump in here. I actually think that it's quite the opposite of what you guys are saying. You guys are saying that it's some bet on yourself role thing. I think that number, to me, shows that he wasn't getting anything else. That it wasn't necessarily that he took less money and, the Devils couldn't give him a role. To me, this says the Devils went to him day one and said, hey, we're not bringing you back. You got to find something else. And I think that this 1 year under $1 million, well under $1 million contract shows that he's just taking what he can get. And Boston needs very cheap contracts, as we've discussed before, and Boston was the one to give it to him. And maybe he does have a chance to show what he has there, but to me, a 1 year at under 800,000 tells me that the demand was zero, that he could have really done anything else. So I don't really see it as much of a high potential move. Like, maybe he's going to use this as a high potential move to show what he can do, but that kind of contract, that says to me that the demand for Jesper Boqvist around the league was just zero.
So I would see that more so in a normal year. The thing that I would give some pushback on that around is the cap is supposed to explode next year, and then again the year following. I think it's supposed to be a 4 or 5 million next season, and then the 4 or 5, which is the other one, the year after.
But is Jesper Boqvist the guy that's going to reap those benefits?
If you go by a percentage of cap, yeah, just you wait. If he signs a 2 or 3 year deal here, he's probably losing out on say $1 million one season potentially, just from a percentage standpoint. And when you're making 775 or $1.2 million, when those even $25,000 differences per year in your AAV, those add up a lot for these guys. 25,000 to Jack or Timo and something. That's they're willing to take the trim there to build a better team around them and get those cups and all that. But for those bottom guys, every penny really does matter. They're not, I'm talking to somebody that makes piss poor money, but we're talking about guys making millions of dollars. But $1 million a year, 775 a year is not generational. It's good money, but also when you're a professional athlete and you're still paying for trainers and I think for the most part, nutritionists and stuff are covered by the team, but like personal trainers, all season stuff, a lot, they're still covering. And these are hockey players that are hanging out with their buddies who are making multi-millions. They, have that lifestyle luxury tax, if you want to put it that way. Now, if you know me personally at all, I am not crying any sort of tears over anyone making that kind of money. It's any sense of the word. But I understand wanting to get every penny you feel you are deserved, especially when he is still a worker. I'm still going to side with the quote-unquote working class in this case. And if you look at, like, Boston's depth chart, right now Daily Faceoff has it listed as first line Pavel Zacha, second line Charlie Coyle, third line Morgan Geeky, fourth line Patrick Brown. And then even if you go by wingers, and obviously top line, you got Marchand Pasternak. There's no doubt there that is elite. But then you drop, and it's James Van Riemsdyk, Jake DeBrusk, okay. But then AJ Greer and Trent Frederick.
That's hilarious.
That's terrible.
As Boston, there's clear opportunity to stand apart there for Boqvist. But I can absolutely see what you're saying, that he didn't have the offers. But I'd be very surprised that a 24-year-old who, if you didn't know, he is an RFA still at the end of this 1 year.
Yeah.
Who scored 10 goals 2 seasons in a row in a bottom 6 role, did not get offers over 775 when you look at what some other guys got. I'd be very surprised if he didn't get at least 800, 900 from some other. I'm not talking got offered 1.5 from another team or anything, but I'm talking he probably got a little bit higher of offers around the league. Just he's looking for that higher opportunity because most teams probably were looking to put him in a bottom 6 situation because that's where he's been shown to play with us.
Yeah, I also think he has a lot of utility as a player, in the sense where he could play both of the wings and he could play center, and has for the Devils. And he plays special teams. He was on our PK, and he was pretty good in that role. So I do agree where he probably had a couple offers some other spots. I don't know. Again, like you said, I don't think he's getting $1.5 million anywhere, but $950. Like I could absolutely see like an Anaheim or even like Colorado offering him $900,000.
So
JP, real quick, BP, just so maybe he could do this while you're making your point. JP, would you happen to have Evolving Hockey, however they're branding themselves right now, their contract projection for Boqvist?
That I might be able to get.
Well, I'll say this, while you pull it up, but I feel like you guys are kind of almost arguing against your own point in saying that he took less money, and then also saying that at that level of money you try to get every penny you can at a 25. We're talking about 800, 900,000 versus 775. We're talking about 100,000, 200,000. That, like you said, 25,000 is a lot, 200,000 is a lot. So I feel like if he had those offers, even at a place like Anaheim, Boston may be a better team, but Anaheim has equal opportunity to try to move up in roles. I mean, he can show what he has in Anaheim, and obviously this is a hypothetical. We just offered him a $900,000 contract from Anaheim out of thin air here. I get that. I'm just saying, if that was the case and he had offers from teams like Anaheim, I think there's a lot of places that can offer a role to prove yourself here. 775, like I said, it just says to me that he took what he got. But JP, we got anything?
Not yet. I'm working on it.
All right.
I can push back on that just slightly. So I don't know if 950 was out there. I can see 850. And again, it's very hard to know exactly. We have no idea, right? We have no idea how many offers, what teams, what amount. But to me, it would just seem odd if his best offer was a 1-year 775, just given his previous production in the role that he had. That's why, based on that, I'm assuming he possibly took a little less to play someone with a higher role. But if he was offered 900, that would be surprising. Like if he turned at 900 or 950 down, because then you're talking, even if he gets the extra bump from the cap going up, it's a wash at that point, right?
Right.
So I completely agree with you there. So I don't think he's getting, I don't know if he got that offer, but who knows? Everybody, drives their own ship really as far as what he wants. Maybe he's a big Boston guy. Maybe he's got best buds up there. Maybe he just wants to hang out with Marchand because he's a great guy off the ice.
He wants to hang out with Pavel Zacha.
Yeah, it could be.
Who knows? Maybe. Could be it.
I have his contract projection now. So for 1 year, his projection was 1.15 mil.
So that's a significant shave. And for anyone that's not too familiar with the evolving hockey guys' contract projections, they are very spot on, like across the board.
I think GMs might look at their page before offering contracts.
Well, I mean, they projected Timo for 8.8.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very good. So just for a little quick blurb here, basically what they do is they give you every contract 1 through 8 or 1 through 7 based on your situation. Then they give you a cap hit based on the term, because obviously term is going to affect how much your cap hit is. And then they give you a percentage chance of what are the odds that they sign this, anywhere from 35 to 55% chance on whatever term, et cetera, et cetera. So the fact that it was that significant of a cut is kind of crazy. Great value for Boston.
It was actually more significant than that, because their most likely contract projection was 2 years at 1.5. And then
there's something going on there.
And then 1 year at 1.1, and then the third most likely was 3 years at 2 mil.
Yeah, and these lower end contracts are actually supposed to be the easier ones to predict.
Yeah,
it's the big name guys are supposed to be a bit more difficult. So, that's significant.
That's a lot of money.
Well, and it kind of these numbers are very comparable to something I wanted to bring up. The Devils just gave Nathan Bastian 1.35, and we're looking at Boqvist worth quote unquote 775. I saw some chatter on Twitter. Some fans were not happy at Bastian at 1.35 when Boqvist could have been had at 775. And obviously, we don't know, if he would have taken 775 for the Devils with the roles that we just talked about. But it's mid-July and we have a podcast, so it would be irresponsible not to go over this a little bit. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I could see their arguments for it. I think Bastian is a better fourth liner than Boqvist would be. I think Boqvist is a better middle six player than Bastian, but I think Bastian is a better fourth liner, and I don't think that we are looking for a middle six forward. I think we're kind of like, this is Holtz's spot now, or Graham Clark's spot now even. But I don't think we were even considering Boqvist for a fourth line role, because I think, Fitz is a pretty good guy at, getting players who aren't getting time with the Devils where they deserve time somewhere else, like Riley Walsh or Will Butcher. So I think we fully knew that Boqvist wasn't going to be back, at least in the front office, because he wouldn't fit in a fourth line role with us.
Yeah, I same thing as I said earlier. I just don't think Boqvist wanted to stay here in a fourth line role at all.
Yeah,
I think absolutely would have taken, and seemed to have, in my opinion, taken less money to play higher up in a different lineup. It's just he was not staying here to play fourth line.
Right.
Or I think full stop. I don't think that's too egregious to say at all. I think it's fairly fair. I do agree that maybe he took less than maybe some other teams that he could have played more middle six. Maybe he did see more opportunity in Boston, or Boston sold him better than other teams on the opportunity they could present, especially going forward. Because again, he's an RFA at the end of this, so it's not just a 1 year. It's 1 year. I'm going to get a little bump next year. You know, who knows what kind of back. If I want to go full tinfoil hat here, maybe there's a backroom conspiracy in Boston. They offered him less money now and said, "Hey, you're an RFA. We're going to sign you and make up the difference to you next year when we're in less cap trouble and the cap goes up."
Possible. People are shady.
What was the San Jose deal? Was it LeBlanc? Who took the 1 year, like, way under market value 1 year deal in San Jose to and it was like literally confirmed that there was a backroom deal saying, I'm taking this 1 year deal that is way less than my value to re-sign here to help the team.
I don't know who it is off the top of my head. sorry. Brat Pack is fighting off a fly.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that.
I think it was LeBlanc.
It might be. I had never heard of that before.
My shot. No, it's 100%. You know, maybe I'll try and look it up while we're recording, or maybe we'll do a follow-up tweet where Jake messed up again or something. But that was definitely a thing. I just don't remember exactly which player it was off the top of my head.
Well, what you're talking about, actually, I know this isn't NHL, but it reminds me of the NBA. There's a player on the Miami Heat. He might still be on that team. He's so old now, though. Udonis Haslem. When back in the day when they got LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, Miami went to Haslem and they were basically like, look, we got all of these superstars on this team. We still need role players. However, we have no money left on this team. If you stick around, at least for the next few years at a ridiculously cheap deal, we promise we will keep you around at like whatever you want until you retire. And he's literally been on the Miami Heat for like 20 years now, just making like $3 million a year every single year. And he might even be making more than that. But it reminded me of that, where he's literally been on that team for like 20 years just because they promised him, look, take less now. Won't talk about that to the league. Don't let them know that we're doing this, but we'll send you into retirement. So I don't doubt that it happens.
If I had to put money on it, I would say no, right? I'd say that's not the circumstances of why this contract was signed. But if you take the full brevity of Boqvist situation, but
I doubt Boston went to Boqvist and said, "We'll take you into retirement here."
Oh no, I'm not, no, nothing like that. No, I'm purely saying if you even wanted to entertain that thought, it was something more of, we're going to give you a shave less this year, and we'll make it up to you slightly in the next contract. And we're talking probably like $225,000 or $125,000 to make it up when the cap jumps and they're not in this absolute cap catastrophe because of their other deals that they've been doing. I don't think it's as far-fetched as some other things I'm sure we'll end up saying on this podcast at some point. But, again, it's fairly tinfoily. But it really, I think it was Boqvist saw more opportunity here and took less for a higher role chance.
I just heard a lot of clicking. Is there a game of Minesweeper happening?
No, that's my wife messaging me checking the messages.
So for those that don't know, we're going to air out some dirty laundry real quick. If you've heard clicking on any of the previous episodes, Jake is so bored by us talking that he plays Minesweeper during the episodes.
I need something to keep me entertained, and they just don't bring up anything compelling, so...
That's fair.
Well, it's like one of those Gen Z TikToks that, like, someone will be talking and there's also like a video game like run through being played on the bottom of it.
Yeah, if only I knew some special Devils podcast that was posting those exact clips.
Yeah, if you ever want to check out some shit post memes from a Devils podcast, so we're going super niche with the audience here. You can check that out on our TikTok. But yeah, it's like Jake is absolutely a Gen Zer where he needs to be constantly stimulated at all times. But are you ready for another segue? Speaking of Gen Zers, the prospect tournament was yesterday.
That was really good. Did you plan that out?
It just comes naturally to him.
Just got a brain that fires on all cylinders at all times. So JP, you and I were at the prospect tournament last night. Jake's probably just going to play a game of Minesweeper while we talk right now.
I got one thing I want to throw in here just
Yeah,
because
go for it.
it's how we open this podcast. JP is our analytics darling.
Yes.
BP is our heart and eye test guy, and I kind of meet in the middle a bit, even if my eye test is better than BP's. So with you two at the prospect tournament with the 3-on-3, I need to hear, obviously, BP, just eye test, what did we think and see? And then JP, there's no analytics to come out of that. There's nobody crunching numbers, nobody giving you a high danger chance. So I need to hear your eye test tape as well.
Actually, there was someone crunching numbers. Our buddy Casey, sitting behind us, had a notebook and a pen and was watching the game and like writing every single thing that happened. It was a total psychopath move. So Casey, I hope you listen to this episode. You are.
We should hire him.
Yeah. No. So it's funny because JP and I can sit next to each other. And I'll just be like, whoa, that was a sick goal. And JP's like, oh, it was a defensive breakdown. I'm like, shut up, I don't care. No, but honestly, not even to get into the prospects yet, but just the experience. That was my first time at a development camp activity at all. I've never been to something like that. It was a lot of fun. I thought the way they did it was really, really cool. For anyone that hasn't been, they do 3-on-3 tournaments. They actually divide the rink, so they play horizontally on two sides of the rink. So it's super small. They cut it off at the blue line, I think.
Yep.
And so it's really tight space. They play 10 minutes. They change the players every 30 seconds.
Yep.
And it was cool. Some of the games were 1-0, and some of the games were like 6-5. It gave us a really, really long look at everyone because they change every 30 seconds. So every player is getting 5 minutes of ice time per game. They did a round robin and then a finals with the two best teams. It was really genuinely a very well done event. I would look forward to going back. And I will turn it over to JP here a little to talk a bit about how each prospect, or not each prospect, but how some of the prospects did. All I will say is Xavier Perrant looked like an absolute superstar. He looked like prime Gretzky in the 3-on-3 tournament.
Oh my God. Anyone that like knows me, I love Xavier Perrant so much, and I have since Dev Camp last year. He looked phenomenal last year. He looked phenomenal this year. That's my boy. He's like 5'8", like 165, and just flies around everyone. It's awesome.
Yeah, he was wheeling and dealing goals. He had a hat trick in the first game that we saw. I think he should be on our first line next year. Actually, a little bit of a side tangent. I think it's one of the reasons the event is kind of funny is some of these guys can look like absolute studs, and Perrant. It really has no Perrant. And it really has no bearing on whether they actually make the team or not. So it's funny how it's like, oh my God, he looks so amazing. He should make the team. And it's like, no, he's still like 80th on the depth chart. There was another guy, though, that I want to mention real quick. Andre Seneca, I think that's how you say his name. Seneca, maybe?
I think it's Seneca.
Seneca. So the kid's 6'7", first of all. Let's just get that out of the way. He was the only one to throw a hit during the whole night, which was hilarious because it was very clear that they were not supposed to be hitting. It was for fun. It wasn't even a serious event in the way that it was really just for fans. What's up, Jake?
Not if you ask a Leafs prospect, apparently.
I wasn't going to do that. A Leafs prospect got absolutely railroaded, and that's really, really unfortunate for him. But it was clearly an event that was for the fans. It really wasn't for them to showcase, their hockey skills quite as much because of the kind of arcade atmosphere of the game they were playing. But homie just threw a hit. Like, the whole night, no hits, and that guy just rammed a guy into the
I thought he got hit.
Oh, well.
I thought he got, like, his legs taken out.
Well, all right. Well, I guess I just looked up for a moment and heard the boards crash.
He was definitely on the ground, for sure.
Yeah. But no, it was. I mean, he was massive. Like I said, I think the website lists him at 6'6". I think someone else told me he's supposed to be 6'7".
He's huge.
He looked like Chara out there. So he's going to be on the first D pair while Perrant plays on the first line. That's my takeaway from
he plays forward, right? Yeah, he's a forward. He's absolutely a forward. Yeah.
So when I said my eye test was better than BP's, just let this
Oh, God.
prove that.
It wasn't even an eye test. It was looking down at a piece of paper that said Andre Seneca F.
You know what?
He thought that was a grade.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are all these guys getting Fs and Ds?
Oh yeah, these are our lesser prospects, I guess. No, but okay, he's a forward. You know what? To be honest, I just saw 6'7" and was like, oh, he's a defenseman.
That's probably
my bad.
fair.
You know what happens when you assume, right? But JP, I'll let you kind of discuss a little more in depth because you clearly know what you're looking at a little better.
Yeah, I actually I had a really good time watching everyone. Honestly, Andre Seneca looked really good too. I don't know if it was just me, but like he had crazy good hands, like really in tight. And obviously he was hard to get off the puck because he's giant. I am gonna eat my words from 2 episodes ago a little bit.
I forgot to say it.
A little bit.
Oh, I was gonna bring it up. I just wanted to see if he would.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm gonna right the ship here slightly. I still think Lenny Haminaho is a horrible skater. Horrible. However,
but
the other facets of his game are much better than I thought they were. His like ability to get in lanes and that high IQ play was absolutely on display. Absolutely on display. He knew where everyone was at all times. He always put himself in the right position. He broke up passes. He blocked shots. He put passes in the right area when there clearly wasn't a play developing until he put it there. He was phenomenal.
And that penalty shot.
And the penalty shot. He's got silky smooth hands. I can't argue with it. He looked great.
The moment he hit that, I turned to JP. I was like, "You know what you have to do on the next episode, right?" He was just like, "I'm not doing it."
Oh man, no, I am doing it. Unfortunately, I hate eating my own words.
Oh, we know. Well aware. But what about the goalies?
As far as goaltending goes, first things first, Malik is enormous. It says he's 6'5". I think he's larger than that. The net looked like a toy next to him. And he made some really nice saves, and I think it was game 2. He made some really nice saves. But I think the goaltending story was Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He was unbelievable. I had never seen this guy play. He made a lot of really nice saves.
Right, and just for context, because the ice was so tight, because the space was so small, a lot of the back and forth moves were very as if they were on a breakaway or if they were on a 2-on-1, very in close.
Yeah.
Goalie didn't have much time, and there was no freezing the puck, no face-offs. So if a goalie had his glove, on the ice on the puck, all he could do was try to get rid of it to one of his teammates. So there was a lot of, goalie putting the puck back in play and having to, adjust right away. So I thought the goalies did a great job, given the atmosphere. It wasn't an authentic game atmosphere. Brady was playing out of his mind. Yeah. Malik, I mean, they all looked huge. Right. But Malik absolutely looked huge.
Filled the net, yeah.
The one that I want to touch on real quick, because I feel like he was the, I guess, premier guy there. We didn't see much from Seamus Casey.
Well, okay, so we only got him for one game. So the way that it worked was our side of the ice was like the winner's side of the ice, so whoever won on the other side came over. And Seamus Casey's team was pretty weak. I thought he was pretty good.
So actually, this was my question.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start before we jump into that and go deeper into Casey. I had a more overarching question.
Sure.
And then specific. So, with the 3-on-3 tournament being the not just half ice, but the I don't know how you want to put it, vertical versus horizontal or horizontal versus vertical, whatever. Sideboards. Yeah. Do you feel like it was tougher on defensemen compared to the forwards, with it being 3-on-3 and the decreased ice size, at least play style to play style? Some defensemen maybe just would not, gap control, I'm sure, was absolutely horrendous, trying to know exactly where to space yourself, not having the dots and all that.
Right.
Did you have any strong feelings on how this affected how a defenseman might look to the eye test on these on the 3-on-3?
I mean, there were certainly more odd man rushes naturally. Honestly, my biggest I guess advocation for Seamus Casey was his defense on the rush. I thought he was pretty calm, cool, and collected. I thought he was the only defenseman who was calm, cool, and collected in those situations because they were happening all the time. And he always he has a very active stick, which is something I didn't realize. It's definitely harder on the defenseman to answer your question. Absolutely is, but I thought Seamus Casey specifically did a pretty good job of it.
Well, and the one thing we saw because the ice was so small is there was less traditional forward defenseman role taking. It's not like two forwards were up and one defenseman was back. Yeah. It was really kind of more cyclical.
It was like a rotation, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a rotation. So, I mean, that's why I thought Seneca was a defenseman. It was really hard to tell what positions they were.
Right.
So, I was really just looking at him and was like, oh, defenseman. So, yeah, it was definitely, if you are a defensive defenseman trying to show what you have as a prospect at the 3-on-3 tournament, you're going to have a tough time. That's just not what it's for. Right. And that's kind of why I said originally, it really wasn't for them to really show off their skills. I mean, and it is to show off their skills, but not so much their gameplay, because it really wasn't authentic gameplay. It really was just a show for the fans. So, yeah, defensemen had a tough time.
Right. And Friday's absolutely going to be the showcase your talent, right, on like an actual NHL situation type deal for the development camp.
Right.
BP, especially bouncing off of your comment, I don't know if you guys saw it, but they did a media scrum afterwards with Chase Cheslock. I don't know how much of an NHL future he may have or not. Seems maybe on the more unlikely side, but hey, I'm rooting for everybody, right? His biggest comment was, hey, I know my role here. I'm not the skilled defenseman guy. That's not my game. Yeah. I literally, when I got the puck, I was like, okay, where are the skilled guys at? Get them the puck.
I saw that too.
That was his entire mindset for the 3-on-3.
He absolutely did that.
So my follow-up question is, on the first couple days, there was two names that basically were thrown in all of our faces. I think pretty deservedly so. From last camp to this one, and Philman and Villain.
Yeah, it's Villain.
They were hyped up beyond anything as far as all the guys here. Casey, we know for sure, but those two as well. They basically were radio silence through the 3-on-3 tournament. I didn't really see or hear much about them at all. Was that more so of we want to put some spotlight on some other guys, or did they kind of ghost on the 3-on-3?
They were invisible.
Yeah, they ghosted a bit. They actually, because Philman specifically, because I knew he kind of has more eyes on him, I watched him so they did pregame warm-ups and stuff too. So they did like line rushes from the blue line. I kind of watched him and his shooting and his rushes. He looked better in the line rushes than he did in the 3-on-3 games.
Yeah. And
from what I know of his game, he's kind of like Sharon Govich, where it's like lethal shot, but maybe not too much else. I mean, obviously other intangibles and stuff, but the real feature for Philman is the shot. So I did see the shot, and in line rushes, the shot looked lethal, and it looked good. But translating that into the 3-on-3 games did nothing.
It did not work. No, he did not look good. The one thing I will say about Philman is there was some talk about him growing. He did. I think
he got bigger.
Yeah, he absolutely. I think he was 6'1" when he was drafted. And there were a lot of 6'1" players there. He looked taller than them, so I'm going to say he's like 6'3" now, 6'2", 6'3". Yeah. He looked large.
Good. Yeah. I know that was like the biggest knock on his game was just size, and if he could put that on, we might actually have something there. So that's good to hear.
Big.
On the topic, real quick of shots though. Samu Salminen, that's how you say his name. I may have not even been close there. He had an absolute snipe in game.
Did.
It was like he had a breakaway, I believe, or it was like him and it wasn't like a full breakaway, but it was him and the goalie, and he went top shelf above the left shoulder. It was beautiful. That was one of the few moments, because the crowd's not really rooting for either team because they're both Devils prospects.
Right.
You get a little like low like cheer if a goal is scored, whatever. When he hit that shot, that was one of maybe 2 or 3 moments in the whole night where people were like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
That
Same with Schleine.
Schleine, yeah, Patrick Schleine.
Reading my mind there, JP. There's a couple more guys I wanted to touch on before moving on to one other thing with the 3-on-3. But yeah, I saw Schleine had 4 goals. I
4
think
goals
it was
in the last one.
finals.
One was an empty net, but yeah.
Sure, but yeah.
He had 3 snipes.
Yeah,
So-
he did.
Obviously, put puck in net. As Devils fans, we love and appreciate that. How was the rest of the game looking, or was it really like he's there, I put puck in net, don't worry about the rest?
That's kind of. I mean, I didn't really notice him outside of shooting the absolute darts top left.
Yeah. I would say the only real player who legitimately was like stand out. This guy's flying around the ice, doing everything, looks good every shot, even when he's not scoring. Was Perron.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
For the most part,
I think Seneca was really good, and I thought Haminaho was really good. But
Let's see, Hamihayo I know had a lot, and the other name that I saw kept popping up on social media and stuff was Cam Squires.
yes, I did. He was my firm 4th best. He looked like, I've said this before, he looked like Dawson Mercer light. He looked like not Best Buy, Walmart, great deal,
great value,
great value, whatever it is. Dawson Mercer.
He also had a snipe that was pretty nice.
Yeah, in the finals, I think.
Yeah, I think it was in the finals.
Yeah.
He looked good. I would say he looked, above average compared to the rest of them. Like he was in the upper tier of those players, but he wasn't like the standout.
Right.
Sure.
Also,
Right,
I have a small little story that if anyone listening maybe can help out here. So when I was going to the tournament, I was on the elevator in the parking lot coming down, and I was on the elevator with some people who said they were there, for the tournament, but they were asking questions like, "Oh, do people really show up to this kind of thing?" Like, and they were in like plain clothes, and they were older people, and I was like, "Yeah, no, like I think they will," and they're like, "Oh, well, our grandson is playing in it," and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's really cool," and one of the other people in the elevator was like, "Oh, what number is he?" And they said he's number 2. But we went to Nashville camp last year with him, and no one was there, so we're excited to see if people are come up, to this kind of thing. He's playing in college, so he's not gonna like get a deal here. Like he is confirmed to be playing in college next year, but he was invited here for camp. So we know he's an invite. But here's the thing: when I got to the rink, I asked JP as our resident, know-it-all. I was like, this guy, says number 2, but there isn't any players wearing number 2 in the Dev camp. Like maybe it's his family, so maybe they're thinking of his college number that he wears when he, plays in college. And we looked up all the invitees, and no one wears 2 in college.
Not a single person.
Not a single person. So anyone listening to this, we're kind of on a little bit of a hunt here to figure out whose family I rode this elevator with, because I have no idea. We can't figure it out. So I'm not really going anywhere with this, but if anyone listening to this can like figure that out, that would be incredible.
The only thing I got, shout out to our boy Trey of Locked On Devils. Got a nice little interview with Luke Rowe, college defenseman. If you haven't watched Locked On Devils, definitely check it out. This is not an interview you're going to find on the Devils social media pages. Luke seemed like a very down-to-earth, awesome guy. Wears number 4 in college, though, apparently. So I don't know if that's your man, but he's definitely a college guy playing college hockey next year. But yeah, that's my only little bit of sleuthing I can do for you guys off the cuff.
We'll figure it out.
I mean, we were on that hunt for a while.
Yeah.
My next, if not last follow-up at least about the 3-on-3 tournament is, did you guys do the autographing, or at least the meet and greet one-on-ones? Boring people. Absolutely boring people. For our audio-only people, they had shook their heads no. So.
Yeah, that's just something that I think I said this when we talked about the draft. Oh my god, the fly is on the screen.
I
missed it. I'm sorry. I think I talked about this when we talked about the draft, but I don't really, as much as I would enjoy watching the prospects play at an event like this, I don't really put too much stock into them as Devils prospects until they are really about to hit the league or join the league. I think 80% of the guys we saw play yesterday are not really going to be NHL mainstays if make the NHL at all. So I really am able to kind of separate myself from that. So I didn't stick around for the autographs.
So you turn your nose up at them, they're below you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I see.
these 18-year-olds with bright eyes and bushy tails trying to sign autographs for the fans. I put up a middle finger and drove away from Newark.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched it. I watched him do that.
There were kids around, and no, I'm kidding. Please don't edit this.
Yeah, no, I didn't either. I was going to stay for Perrant's autograph because you guys know it's my boy. But, you know.
All right, then, any final thoughts on anything we did not cover from your either the on ice or just the experience of outside of the ice, which I'm probably a little more interested in, of the 3-on-3 tournament?
There were a lot more people there than I thought there would be.
Oh, it was packed. It was
full.
It was packed.
Which I said this on my morning show that we saw that all over. It was packed. The prospects all commented on like how crazy it was, how many people were there. I mean, the fact that we didn't have, I would say, a marquee name in this at all. Like, our biggest name here is what, Casey?
Casey,
yeah.
Right? I mean,
second round pick from last year.
Yeah, that's crazy. That it was like, imagine if Luke was playing or something. Like, cool. That's awesome to see from a fan base that is clearly excited going into this next season.
Yeah, every seat was packed, and around where the goals usually are, but weren't this time. Around the little horseshoe at the end of the rink was like 3-4 rows of people deep, packed. There was, probably about 1,000 people there, I'd say.
Yeah, no, there was a lot. The one other thing that I would mention about the crowd is that I want to say like 3 or 4 people got hit with pucks.
Oh my God, can we talk about that for just like 30 seconds? They have obviously the glass, and they have the net above the glass, and when the puck goes into the net, sometimes it doesn't fall back into the ice. It falls like through a little crack, and most people see that happening and they're aware of it and they catch it. However, while they were doing warm-ups, and this, I mean, there were a couple, but this one,
oh my God,
they were doing warm-ups. We see a shot go up. I don't know where it hit. I couldn't tell you. There was a bang like on the ceiling, on the roof, like on the wall of like the actual building, not the rink wall. And we're all like looking around, like, where did it just go? And like 5 rows in front of us on the platform for the stairs, there's just like 4 or 5-year-old kid, and the puck comes down from the ceiling and lands, I swear, 6 inches from his face.
Yeah, like, maybe.
Like he would have been in the ICU if he hit him.
It wasn't even just falling. It was loud. It came down so fast the kid would have been like in the hospital, like legit.
I was legitimately scared, because I didn't know if it hit him or the floor when I heard the bang or whatever. My heart stopped. I turned to JP. I was like, we almost just witnessed something that would have changed the trajectory of our friendship forever.
Yeah, that was wild. And then I saw a couple. There was like some girl on the other side got hit with one of the pucks that like slid down the net, but it just like bopped her on the head, super light. Yeah,
there were some flying pucks.
Oh my God. That was wild, though. That was nuts.
I think that's a great way to end the discussion on the 3-on-3. That's pretty fantastic. Obviously, that's not something outside of being there. We heard about it all. So I do love the insight from a couple of guys that were there in person. I think that really covers it. I mean, there was a couple other random pieces of Devils things going around the sphere, but they're still there. We could talk about them at a later date. But I think this was a pretty solid, in-depth look at the experience of the 3-on-3 tournament.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for giving our own episode a good review.
Oh, thanks, Jake.
Well, like I said, I mostly carry, so the fact that you guys had to do the heavy lifting for most of this episode, I appreciated it.
Oh yeah.
Anytime, buddy.
Humble servant I am.
Same here. I'm nothing but humble.
Yeah.
Yo, I carry this pod. I'm humble.
Jake is coming.
That's it from me over here. Jake, our boy JP, who doesn't ever
I'm
Say
gonna have an
goodbye,
outro
everyone.
this time. Take it easy, everyone.
Jasper Bratt is the best player in the NHL.